So it's October, and that means it's spooky season, right? So, based on my last video, I decided to come up with a topic. And I figured, since it's October and it's spooky season, let's go to the graveyard, shall we? Or, better yet, the IP graveyard, and why these video game studios need to start looking to the past if they want future success. Or else, more games are just going to get into the graveyard and they will just be lost to time. And it's very sad. Before I continue, I want to thank you guys for stopping in to my channel. Right now, I do now have 3 separate channels, one for showing off video game deals and one for reaction, and then this one, which is going to be the main for original content, my thoughts on certain topics, whether it be news, gaming, or etc. And right now it's very new, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any tips or tricks or comments, leave them in the section down below and we'll go from there. It's a lot about getting over the nerves, and feedback is always helpful. I know my editing has got a long way to go, but I'm having fun, so thank you for joining me on this journey, and let's get into it. Alright, so place to start is, what is the IP graveyard? Well, it's where studios stash their old intellectual properties, games, franchises that were shelved after lackluster sales, studio closures, or shifting trends, right? We're talking classics like Chrono Cross, Vagrant Story, Kami, Dino Crisis, Parasite Eve, the list goes on. These IPs are often abandoned because they didn't hit it big commercially, or because the studios chased newer, shinier projects. But here's the kicker, it's 2025 and nostalgia is still hitting highs that it's just unimaginable that if it will ever go away. And leaving these IPs buried is just a huge missed opportunity that these video game companies need to start taking advantage of. Alright, so why did I decide to talk about this topic? Well, I was randomly browsing the IP library of Sony yesterday because I watched a video where they talked about how the exec decided to say that the reason why they're chasing live service is because they don't have enough IPs to be profitable, if you will. And the first thing I thought of was like, are you sure about that? And I decided to go on Wikipedia and just scroll down the list just like a normal person. Like when someone says something, sometimes you just Google it, right? And to my surprise, there was hundreds, if not thousands, of IPs that were just sitting there dormant. And I mentioned some earlier, but just to name a few in Sony's category, Battle Arena Toshinden, such a niche game, but it was a fighting game back in the day that could be revived as like something fun, just something simple, like an arcade classic. Or even if you look at the RPGs, you have Arc the Lad, you have Wild Arms, you have so many RPGs that are just sitting dormant. Grandia, like, obviously for one reason or another, these games kind of fell into obscurity, but there's a chance to reignite it, especially with the success of some of the new games that have come out that are kind of living on the nostalgia of others. Take, for instance, Hollow Knight and Silksong. Games that kind of played two formulas together, the Souls-like and the Metroidvania genre, right? If you think about it, when was the last time there was a Metroid game? Yes, there's one coming out, but the last one was like a decade ago almost. And what about Castlevania? When was the last Castlevania game? Obviously, there was a game called Bloodstained, which, here's a hot take, Bloodstained better than Hollow Knight. I had more fun with it. I don't know, just my thing. But don't get me wrong, I do like Hollow Knight and Silksong, but I prefer Bloodstained a little bit more. And it's crazy to think that there's so many styles. If you're not going to revive the old IP, revive the style, diversify the portfolio in gameplay versus just style, right? You could have different art styles, but we're not getting enough gameplay now. we're kind of in this new era of like everything has to chase the trend of Souls-like or Fortnite-like or Minecraft or Farm-like. There's this genre that needs to be tapped into, and you can just look at all the old IPs that are sitting there in the graveyard that could really help boost a lot of these companies that are suffering from layoff after layoff after layoff because of flop after flop after flop. Why do these studios need to revive some of these old IPs? Well, nostalgia is a cash machine, right? Look at Resident Evil 2, which sold 12 million copies. Look at Crash Bandicoot, which sold millions of copies. Spyro sold millions of copies. The Ratchet and Clank that came out with the PS5 sold insanely well, but why aren't they making these games? It's crazy to me. It's that it's a lower risk than a lot of new IPs. Creating a brand new IP is a gamble. Think of things that fail, like Anthem, like Concord, that didn't have a built-in fan base. Yes, they failed for obvious other reasons, like the characters didn't look great, the gameplay wasn't that great. But just overall, like when you're not coming in with a built-in fan base or established lore or name recognition, like you're taking a big risk. And when you have tens of thousands of employees whose job and livelihood are resting on this, maybe you should diversify your portfolio. This way, when one game fails and another game succeeds, you can live to fight another day. I mean, tech today makes it so much easier to make new games. Between Unreal Engine 5 and new mechanics, and even the older mechanics of Unreal 4 and other stuff that you're seeing, makes it a little easier. And fans want these games, right? You see on X, on Reddit, fan demands for just search like Dino Crisis remake hashtags and other games that are out there that people are clamoring for. Like, you know what? Throw a bone one of these days. I mean, yes, Final Fantasy VII was a great first step for Square Enix, but that always doesn't mean success, and that's something you have to take into account. Alright, for every success there's also failures. Yes, there always is a chance that reviving an old IP may not work. Obviously something happened with Final Fantasy and some other franchises. It doesn't always work. And why is that? Usually it's due to trying to change the formula for what we call the modern audience. The modern audience is technically the same audience. A lot of gamers are still in their 30s and early 40s and even 50s because they love the genre. They love the hobby. They love the game, right? And it's always been a rewarding thing. And when you take into account how the gaming industry's kind of treated gamers the last few years, it's kind of disheartening, right? I mean, anytime there's talk about Bloodborne, it's like, where's Bloodborne 2? And a lot of people are theorizing it's going to come out with PS6, and that may be a possibility, but you gotta remember, PlayStation 5 is almost 7 years old now. Like, that's usually the cycle, about 6-7 years before the next PlayStation. And to be honest, it's hard to say that we didn't get anything, because we've had a lot of all-timers. I mean, like, obviously you had Elden Ring, you have Baldur's Gate 3, Clair Obscur, which is going to win Game of the Year this year, unless, and fingers crossed, I hope they don't do it, gaming media could do it as one final FU to gamers by not saying the truth. I mean, they did it last year. Let's be honest. Black Myth Wukong should have won. Myth Wukong over Astrobot. No one's even talking or thinking about Astrobot. Heck, they didn't even think about it less than a month after the Game of the Year awards. And that tends to happen, right? And it's sad. And let's look at someone who's failing to capitalize on nostalgia and the games that they have lying in their IP graveyard. Naughty Dog. Oh my god, this is my favorite company growing up. It was the bee's knees of the gaming industry. When Crash Bandicoot came out, it took over my young life. It was the original Dark Souls, if you will, of platformers. This game is so hard, and I'm replaying it now, and I'm gonna maybe stream some of it. Like, the levels of difficulty that this game can have is just insane, and the mental torture of trying to make sure you don't die before you get every box is just nerve-wracking. Like, every level with new twists and turns. This gaming franchise deserved more, and it got more back in the day. And when the Reignited trilogy came out, and they did Crash 1, 2, and 3, and they remastered it, it sold well, and people loved it. And even Crash 4, for all its faults, was still very fun and sold decently well. And then after that, you had Jak and Daxter. My God, I loved Jak and Daxter 1, but when Jak 2 came out and it kind of like implemented kind of those Grand Theft Auto elements and those certain types of things with the different gun characteristics and the side quests and the levels and all the side stories, it became something more. And even the third one, which did cost about $40 million, which is crazy. It sounds like, it doesn't sound like a lot compared to new games today that average between 100 and 300 million. That's crazy. Like, the first one cost about like 2 million, and the second one was only like 20 to 30 million. So you're telling me some of these studios can't allocate that small? I don't want to say that small for 20 million, but like, when you're dropping 300 million, why not drop 200 million or cut like 20, 30 million from your marketing budget to create another game that can maybe sell? And that's where it comes into play, right? And then you had, obviously, the Uncharted franchise. Again, unbelievable. Hit after hit after success after success. Naughty Dog was riding high. And now, ever since Uncharted 4, which left a lot to be desired, I'll be honest. I mean, in the beginning when I first played it, I remember liking it, but when going back, it doesn't hit the same. And it's one of those things where, like, you play it one time and it's like you don't feel as good as you did when you beat the first 3. And I didn't get a chance to play the Lost Stories, but I just never felt like I wanted to, because I just didn't care for the characters. Like, and there was nothing against them, they just didn't seem that interesting. And then you have the next one, which was The Last of Us. And the success of The Last of Us is just a story of the ages, right? One of the greatest games of all time. Top 10 in a lot of people's list. Not in mine, I'll be honest, but I enjoyed it, and I can see why, and it deservedly so. And then, obviously, everyone knows the story of Last of Us Part 2. It didn't sell as well. It sold, I think, about 50% of what The Last of Us 1 sold, and that was due to the story not being good, the fact that they were very antagonistic towards gamers, and it just didn't work. And then, you could say what you will about the Game of the Year awards, them giving it Game of the Year gave them a chance to sell it to HBO, right? Hey, look, this is the Game of the Year. This game sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth of profit, not knowing that originally it was because the first game was so good, and then people were like, oh, they didn't know about the second game, and then they played the second game, and it was awful. And you could see that, I think it's in 2025, we could all admit that over 85% of people were right, and The Last of Us 2 not only did not deserve Game of the Year, it's going to end up being the crash of the Academy Awards version of the Game of the Year awards. For those that don't know, looking back, a lot of people are regretting that Crash won the Academy Award for Best Picture, because it just doesn't hold up and it's not great. It wasn't great then, but it was like one of those things where you felt like it was a message movie, and it's the same with The Last of Us Part 2. But because of that, and because of the leadership now, Naughty Dog is sitting on so many dead IPs, right? And it's depressing. You still have Crash, you still have Jak and Daxter, you still have Uncharted, and now you're doing this new IP, Intergalactic, and hey, you know what? You can do it. Sure. I mean, I have this running theory that seems a little crazy, but you know what? I'll say it now. I feel, and it started with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I think other games probably did. Dragon Age did it too, the Veilguard, but companies are going to start announcing players, and I think with Intergalactic it's going to start announcing profit versus players or sold first. And the reason being for that is, even though it's the most expensive game, like I'm betting somewhere between 250 to 350 million, the amount of advertisements and sponsored things I saw in that first trailer was incredible. So you're telling me that the amount of money that some companies and businesses put into, say, a commercial at the gaming awards or even at the Super Bowl, imagine saying, oh, this game's going to sell hundreds, it's going to sell a few million copies, right? And you're not a gaming person. You're like, oh, this game won Game of the Year. Oh, this person has shows. Oh, I trust this person. I'm gonna put 20-30 million in investments. I'll pay 20-30 million here or there, and it's going to happen. And I think it's happening a lot more than we think. That games are going to come out already in the green. And even though they're not going to sell like 1 million, maybe 2 million copies, they don't need to announce it because they're already in the green. They're going to say, hey, we're already at hundreds of millions of sales in profit. And I think that's going to happen. And I feel bad because it's going to hold all these dead IPs. They're going to think, oh, this is the way to go. And there's a lot of IPs like Crash and all this in Naughty Dog that are just going to sit there. And I know there was an extra game that came out for Jack. Don't really know the full story. I'm going to maybe do a deep dive into that at some point and watch a video on that. But I think these companies need to start selling some of their dead IPs. So now that we're off that topic, it's the risks of ignoring your graveyard. There are so many companies that are going under because they're putting all their eggs in one basket, and it's depressing to see because I don't really want people to lose their job. Yes, some people may have different opinions than I do, but I don't really want them to lose their job. But then again, we are in a capitalist society, right? If the game sucks, then people won't buy it, and if people don't buy it, there's no money to pay them. I mean, you could relate that to everything, and that's the same with things in sports and whatnot. That's why I always hated the argument about sports players make too much. Well, they're generating billions of dollars. Them getting 10 to 15%, which ends up like 10-20 million, is not that bad. It was never that thing. And I mean, and sometimes worse, like a botch revival can hurt more than help, though. Like, you always have to take that into account. Warcraft 3 Reforged in 2020 was a disaster. It's something that I looked up, and when I was looking at this topic, it was buggy, it was missing features, it was slapping the face to fans, and that happens a lot. Like with a lot of things where they try to reboot franchises that were dormant or possibly dead. And look no further than Bungie. Bungie has been trying to revive Marathon, which was an old game, which is crazy because I didn't even know it was an old game. I missed that. It was one of those things, and it's not the game that it used to be, and it looks bad. I don't want to say it looks bad. It looks off-putting. It's not my cup of tea when it comes to art style. And the same can be said. I saw the trailer for Deus Ex, and my God, I'd rather play the old one. I know the graphics look bad, but the way that they did all these models just doesn't look like I want to spend time in that universe. I'm just saying. But it's depressing, and I think a lot of it has to do with the politics of gaming in general. And I'm not talking about right versus left. I'm talking about like the fact that it's more of a toxic positivity where these businessmen that jumped into the industry over the last few years chasing like the golden ticket and end up kind of destroying studios, and with all these people losing the job, they just fail upwards. They go to another job as a CEO, they go into another job as the head art director, they do stupid things, and they kind of hurt the industry as a whole, and it's depressing. I mean, if you think about it, like, what should the studios do? Why not allocate certain money? Stop using $100 to $200 million doing marketing. I'll be honest, I watch videos on YouTube, and all the evidence is literally there. You have games like Silksong that came out with less than a week of fanfare and like sold crazy numbers. Look at Claire Obscure, wasn't that marketed that much? Like, if you think about it, like I only remember seeing trailers. I don't remember seeing trailers at like the Game Awards. I didn't see it hold the whole press conference. It wasn't that crazy. And then even yet, the biggest one of digging up the IP graveyard, Oblivion came out with no one knowing what happened. They're like, oh look, here's a trailer, it's out today, and it sold millions of copies. What do you know? Nostalgia works, and you don't need to drop $200 million on marketing. I think marketing in today's age is a dead medium, and it sucks that some people are going to lose their job, but you got to stop falling for it. You can just, if you're going to spend on marketing, go to YouTube. Go to some popular YouTubers, have them play the game, have them be positive about it, maybe bring it to a show or not. You don't have to do billboards. You don't have to do animated stuff on buildings or stuff on the subway, or even in I don't want to say, like, there's no real gaming magazines anymore, but I mean, that was the thing of the day. Man, showing my age, getting the Game Informer from GameStop was always the greatest thing every month. But it is what it is today. So stop spending that money there and allocate it to a small studio. You have, say, what is it, 20 to 50,000 people in your studio? Just allocate them. Like, that's what a good leader does. They use people. And I hope they get to it at some point. Look, if we were to talk about this topic, we could spend hours about it. We could do a whole podcast about it. I just want to kind of bring up the thought process because it is October, and I wanted to do like kind of a spooky theme. And the graveyard IPs is kind of a cool topic, but also a depressing one. I mean, for me, you could think of any games, and you could leave games that you miss in the comment section below, but things like F-Zero, Jet Set Radio, Bloodborne, Dino Crisis, my god, I missed that game. Look at Wild Arms. Wild Arms is a franchise that I miss greatly, and Wild Arms 3 to this day is one of my favorite games of all time. It is in my top 5 favorite games of all time, and it's not a game that you think of. And that's a series that needs to make a comeback. Obviously, my whole background is in RPGs, so I'm the cave dweller, if you will, that likes and plays those games. I mean, I just dropped, what was it, somewhere between 60 hours, 50 to 60 hours on Udican Chronicles, The 100 Heroes, and about another 70 to 80 on the vanilla software one that came out, Unicorn Overlord. And I dropped another like 40-50 on Persona 5, which I beat years ago. And it's crazy to me that like, and I just spent another 30-40 playing Tainted Grail, which is kind of the Oblivion successor. And to be honest, I enjoyed it a lot more than I did Oblivion. Just hot take, if you will. But these are the things that studios need to look at. Stop trying to let these things die. If you're not going to make these games, then sell them off. There's indie developers and people, like, why not set up mini studios and whatnot? And this is something I hope investors do. Like, just say, like, look, I like this franchise. I have all this money in the world. I'm going to take 15, 20 million and do it. That's how producers happen with movies. And I hope more people that are becoming rich in gaming can come up with something like that. That'd be cool. Like if your favorite streamer, say, like decides, hey, look, I'm going to get together with like 5 or 6 streamers. We're going to take some of our money and invest in that. And that could be something cool. I mean, if I was rich, that's what I would do. I mean, I'm starting to learn coding, so I want to be a producer one day. Not a producer, just I would love to be a producer because that would mean I would have money, right? But no, I want to be someone who's in the development team, and that's something that I'm working on. But for right now, I just look at this IP graveyard and it's depressing, right? And I think about it every day. Like all the games that I go back and I play, and I'm going to mention one game and I'm going to end with this. Darksiders 4. Darksiders 4, yes. Darksiders 4 is coming out, I would say sometime next year. I am so excited for that game. Can I tell you? I love the first Darksider trilogy, and that's something maybe I'll replay, because I was gonna buy the collection and whatnot, and I may do it next time I see it on sale. It was on sale and I thought about it and I kind of missed the sale and I'm regretting it, but I know it'll be back on sale soon. But it's just the style of gameplay, and that's, if anything, if you're not going to revive the dead IPs, revive the dead game styles. Why is it that Warner Brothers, for instance, is sitting on that system? Like, why not sell it? Like, you're in debt, sell it, or make a game. Why make Suicide Squad? Because you thought it was going to make you money? Who thought that? Now you're hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. Now you're billions of dollars in debt. Like, it's just people on the top, and people just fail upwards, and there's no repercussions. They if they get let go, they move on to the next company, but what ends up happening, the people underneath them, they always just fall, and I feel bad. But yeah, that's all I want to kind of talk about. Thank you guys for stopping in. Let me know about what games that you want to see make a comeback. Obviously, I said some of them, like Dino Crisis and Wild Arms, and Parasite Eve is another good one. But I don't know. You just let me know. So thank you for that, and take care, guys. All right, that's where we're going to end it today. Thank you for watching, Redeemers. If you made it this far, you're officially part of the squad. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you never miss a drop. I mean, this is YouTube. You should know that by now. Come on, people. If you got tips, tricks, suggestions, just drop them in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want to keep the party going, follow me on Instagram and X. I'm going to be streaming over on Kick and Rumble and YouTube. So follow me there. I'll leave the links in the description below. So until next time, stay sharp, stay savage, and keep gaming and keep going, man. Every day, just another day, but just have fun with it. Take care.
Goodbye.